All right, we're live on Facebook, live on Instagram. Alrighty, we're ready.
Awesome. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of Flip Chart Friday, and I'm really excited to talk about our topic today with you because throughout the rest of this year, it's going to be affecting every single one of your sites in some way or another. So whenever we have a topic that's just so far wide-reaching, we are really excited to share it with you. So what we're going to talk about today is Mobilegeddon, but don't worry, it's not the end of the world, but things are changing a little bit. But it's no surprise. By now, you guys know how often Google changes, but this is a little bit bigger announcement coming from them. So we wanted to make sure that you guys were staying on top of, the greatest and latest and kind of understanding where Google is going and what it means for your business and your online presence. So let's dive in. So we're going to give you a little history lesson to start out today, a little bonus. So back when Google started, the search side of their business, and they started crawling sites with their early Googlebot, what they did was Google would crawl the desktop version of a site because mobile phones just weren't a thing. Brick phones didn't have a screen on them. The old Motorola StarTACs didn't have a screen. They had the LED with the numbers, but there was no reason and really no, internet yet for the mobile world, at least that you needed to be, optimizing for. So they would crawl that, desktop version of the site, and that's how they would determine their rankings because there was no other version. And then mobile phones started to become a thing, and we got into the smartphone world, and people were able to start searching right from their mobile phone, which was a game changer. And, for the first, few years, desktop was still the main player. Mobile phones weren't widely adopted yet. And again, there was no real reason to optimize for the mobile experience because Google was still crawling this desktop version. Then in 2015, something pretty crazy happened. Mobile searches overtook desktop. Now, it wasn't by much. It was just kind of that tipping point where they got 52 to 48, roughly that, those percentages, and everything started to change. Ears started to perk up, and it's like mobile is here to stay, and it's becoming more widely adopted. So, of course, when consumers are searching on their mobile phones versus a desktop, it's a completely different experience. You have a different, screen size, so there's not as much real estate that you can use on a desktop site like you could on a mobile phone. So you need to start, or at least needed to start thinking about these things when you're building websites. If you have a site that looks great on someone's laptop, but it's, configured all weirdly, it populates wrong, it's not user-friendly on a mobile phone, it's just a bad experience. And what Google is, finally starting to do is realizing that in this mobile-first world we live in, where the majority of consumers out there access, the internet, the only access point for them is their mobile device, whether that's an iPhone or an Android. So now in 2018, Google's getting serious, and they're finally rolling out some official, new announcements of things that are coming and have already started to happen. And that's what we want to talk about with you. So today, what Google has started to do is now, when they realized that mobile was, the first and foremost, the king of online search, they're now adopting. So they've already started rolling this out with a few sites, and they just did, a larger bunch here this week. But it's going to be rolling out gradually again through the rest of this year. And now how Google is going to, start ranking your sites for different keywords is if there is a mobile version of the site, they're actually going to start crawling that first. And they're going to use that version to determine your ranking factors if it's available. Now, what that means is that there is that potential as this continues to roll out that, you're going to see a dip in rankings if your site isn't mobile friendly and your competitors are. So again, this isn't rolling out, internet wide yet, but it's coming. And over, the coming months, it's something that, if you don't have a good mobile version of your site, you really need to start focusing on because, like we said, we're already living in a mobile-first world, so if you have a slow-loading mobile version of your site, or it's populating odd, or there's nowhere to convert on there, it's not a good experience experience for people either. And Google takes that into account now. It's kind of mind-boggling to think that they can make all these inferences about how, people interact with your site and what their overall experience is, but they use hundreds of different data points to determine this. And it's becoming more important than ever with their official announcement. Like, hey guys, wake up, mobile is the future, and you need to at least have that, going for your site. Now, don't worry, as this continually rolls out, if you don't have a mobile optimized site, you're still going to be losing, conversions and potential sales because of that with a bad experience on the consumer's side. But Google will still crawl your desktop version if they don't find that mobile version. Now, again, it's yet to be seen exactly how that's going to affect rankings overall, but they are hinting at that if it's not a mobile-friendly site, that it could drop you. And if your competitors do have mobile-friendly sites, then it can kind of put them over that tipping point. So really, when you're playing in this game of inches, it's really important to make sure that you're optimizing every step of the way when Google comes out and just officially says, hey guys, we are going to rank your sites based off of this if it's available. So there are a lot of changes happening on how they crawl sites, but Google also came out and for this whole mobile get-in thing announced that starting in July, mobile site speed is going to become an official ranking factor. Now, Google's always, taken site speed into account, and, that's reflected in how many people actually land on your site when it loads or if they leave because they're waiting for things to pop up. People are impatient these days. Consumers, if they don't, get a site to load in the first 5 seconds, they're jumping off. So what Google is saying is, all right, we've been doing this for desktop and it's never been official for mobile, but in July it is official. So it's important to start optimizing not only to get your website to where it's, at least, up to par on mobile, but also keeping site speed in mind, because we are going to see some of those ranking adjustments, especially when Google is crawling the mobile version of the site first and taking that into account. Like if they're doing that and you have a mobile site, that mobile speed is what's going to be used to rank your site with Google. So it's really, really, really important that you start focusing on these things. And for our current clients, we're always staying up to date and making sure that site speed is where it should be. And we've always optimized for that. But in the coming months here, we'll be reaching out to our clients and letting them know what, if anything, needs to be done to their sites for this. But if you're not working with a professional or an expert in digital marketing, it's really important that you at least get someone's opinion on this. And we're more than happy to kind of sit down, chat with you, and go through how your current mobile site looks, how it's loading, and possible steps you can take to prepare for this massive change from Google. So, again, what should you do based on all this information? I'm sure that, as a business owner, any major change like this is scary, and we understand that. We work with clients every single day, and as we're kind of translating what we do for them, a lot of this can be scary because it's unknown. I get that. I mean, even in the industry we work in, if I have to go and try and figure out how to actually fix my furnace or my AC, I am going to be freaked out because I am not going to know what I'm doing. But we're here to kind of make sure that you guys do have a few action steps you can take. And it's not as scary as it sounds. So the first thing, just make sure your site is mobile friendly. Visit it. Have you looked at your site recently on a phone? You may sit down at your desk at the end of the day or beginning of the day before the craziness happens and check it out on your desktop, but are you looking on your mobile phone? Is part of the site populating off to the edge? Do you have to try and scroll to see a bunch of text that's off? Or is it really, really slow? Is it over that 5-second mark? Are you seeing things load correctly? Is a call now button following you up and down the page? Because you have a lot of conversion elements on a desktop site that populate, but they don't all just automatically translate to the mobile side. And that can make for a poor mobile experience with all that, that significantly less real estate consumers have. They don't want to have to scroll back up to the top of the page to click a phone number. They want that to follow them. And we've seen that in dramatically increase conversions for our clients where we've added those things to a mobile site. So just check it out. And if you're unsure based on what you're seeing, Google has a mobile-friendly test. If you just Google the mobile-friendly test, it'll tell you if it's, at least populating decently, and it'll show up. But again, you want to focus on other things like site speed on mobile. Again, how long does it take? Because consumers these days, again, are impatient, especially in the home services industry where emergencies happen so often. If they click on a site and they want it to load now, or they're going to find somebody else because they need something not now, yesterday when the problem happened. And then again, customer experience overall on the site. Is all the information that they need on the homepage, are they able to convert? Again, their AI systems are so brilliant that they can make these inferences based off of all this data we have and kind of determine whether or not the customer has a good experience on your site. Are people converting? Are they jumping off? Like, all these play into that. So just make sure that you're thinking of the customer first when you are trying to make these site speed changes, if you're doing it on your own or with a contractor or someone who's kind of new to optimizing for that, because it can be a little tricky. But again, if you're keeping these things in mind and at least starting to look at these things now, put an action plan in place. We still have a few months until site speed kicks in for mobile, but you don't have a few months to make sure that your site is mobile friendly, because people already expect that. And that's where we can help you. If you have any questions about this stuff, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We get that it's, unknown, that it's a big deal, and that it can be really daunting when you don't live in this world every day. But that's what we're here for. Start taking action. As a business owner, as a manager for a larger business, you guys know that starting to take action now is better than waiting until the very last minute and realizing that you're too late. So just keeping in mind, mobile first everything these days. Yes, people are still coming from desktops, but if you're not optimizing for that 4 or 5 inch screen, you're going to be losing out on a lot of ranking opportunities starting in July and as the rest of this rolls out, but you're also going to be losing out on a lot of business. So that's all we have for you today. It's coming. Just get a plan together, put one step in front of the other, and it's going to work out for you. Thanks for stopping by. Be sure to check out next week, same time, for another Flip Chart Friday, where we're going to share some awesome, valuable digital marketing news with you. Thanks, guys.